Hello and welcome to the Print's post-budget discussion. I'm TCA Sharad Raghavan, Deputy Editor, and I have with me Radhika Pandey, Associate Professor at NIPFP, and we're going to be talking to you about the key takeaways from the budget. Now, I start this with a caveat: the budget just finished, and it was quite detailed, so we won't be able to go into too many details, but these are the main takeaways that are important to you and me and the economy. So now, Radhika, let's start with income tax. Most people are interested about that. So what are the changes that they've made there?
So in income tax, they have raised the standard deduction limit
Right.
from rupees 50,000 to rupees 75,000. That is one major change, and the other is that there has been some minor changes in the income tax slabs.
Hmm.
So basically, the 3 to 6% earlier attracted a tax of 5%. Now that it has been raised from 3 to 7%, and
Now
therefore
three to seven lakh.
3 to 7 lakh now is attracting a 5%
Right.
rate. Earlier it was 3 to 6 lakh. Now it's raised to 3 to 7 lakh,
Mhm.
attracting a 5% tax rate. So these are the two changes that have been made in the income tax slabs. And the as the policy of the government goes, that they are promoting the new tax regime and
Right.
they are incentivizing people to adopt the new tax regime. And what the finance minister said, that two-thirds of the payees have moved to the new tax regime. So in that direction, they have tried to further incentivize uh, taxpayers by providing these minor changes and minor cuts in taxes. And as the finance minister said, it will lead to a saving of around rupees 17,000 rupees in income tax payment. So
Right.
that will uh, that will help certainly in providing some space for boosting consumption.
Okay. And now, of course, they have increased the long-term capital gains tax, and they made some changes to the short-term gains tax as well. Apart from increasing the securities transaction tax on futures and options trading, but the details of that we'll go over later in future discussions. But the important thing that they've done is they've done away with the angel tax.
Yeah, that's a very significant decision that has been announced, and that will help in giving a boost to startups, because that has been a long-standing
Right.
demand that angel tax should be reduced, rationalized, simplified. So, in that direction, angel tax has been removed for all in kind of investors. So that should give a boost to the startup ecosystem.
Absolutely. And now coming a little bit to the fiscal consolidation, the roadmap that they have, and what the fiscal deficit they've announced for the year.
Yeah, so if we look at the interim budget, that time the fiscal deficit target for the current year was 5.1%. The finance minister has announced that it will be now 4.9% of GDP for the current year. That means the government has moved towards a faster path of fiscal consolidation.
Mhm.
And also, what they're saying is that the next year, when they move to the medium term target of 4.6% of GDP, 4.5% of GDP by FY26, they will be able to do better. They will be able to reduce it
Lower
below,
than that.
yeah,
Right.
4.5%. They did not announce the medium term strategy on how what will be the trajectory of fiscal deficit and debt beyond FY26. But what finance minister certainly said was that then finance fiscal deficit would be reduced progressively, so that they achieve a faster decline in debt to GDP ratio. So that was one indication that the government would want to move towards a faster path towards fiscal consolidation, and that is evident. And even that's reflected in lower market borrowing numbers.
Right.
Both gross and net market borrowing numbers are lower, so that should lead to lowering of yields and cheer the bond market.
But you feel that this is a realistic expectation that we can, on a sustained basis, reduce our debt to GDP ratio?
One very critical input that we will have to see when the budget fine print is released is what is the assumption about the nominal GDP growth. Because
Right.
if that's the denominator, so in all possibilities they would have a higher nominal GDP growth, say 13 to 14%. So that will give them some comfort and headroom towards moving to a 4.9% of GDP. So that is something very critical to watch. Otherwise, I think if they have a higher nominal GDP growth target, I think they will be able to move towards this number. Because if you look at the various expenditure proposals, they are not something that are going to affect only this year. Most of them are medium term.
Yes.
If we look at the uh, rural infrastructure, if we look at some of the other incentives for, say, urban housing, 2.2 lakh crore, that is to be spent over the next 5 years. For MSMEs, they have announced again the credit guarantee scheme. So that is again not something which will have a direct fiscal burden on the government. So
Right.
going by all possibilities, I think they will be able to achieve, but a critical input would be to watch out for the nominal GDP growth number.
Right. Okay. And now there was a big thrust on employment.
Correct.
And now I think a lot of people who have been advising the government, giving recommendations, they should be glad, because one of their key recommendations was employment linked incentive schemes.
Correct.
Whether it was economists or industry, they were asking for this. And it looks like the government has heard them.
Yeah, so we've also talked about this earlier
Hmm.
last week, that there should be some employment linked incentive schemes.
Absolutely.
And in the budget, they have come up with three schemes: one for the first time employees, one is for the manufacturing sector, and third is to incentivize the employers. So they will be provided some concessions if they employ people under their EPFO contribution. They will get some direct benefit transfers. So there are these three contours of schemes, and in addition to that, some financial assistance is to be provided for internship opportunities. So I think all in all, a lot of emphasis has been placed on employment generation. We saw these kind of schemes are also announced during COVID time to provide formalization of employment.
Right.
So I think again those kind of steps are being taken to move towards formal employment. So all these incentives kick in only when there is a move towards formal employment. So I think that will help
They
in
were looking at EPFO.
EPFO, yes.
Right.
So EPFO contribution, there the government will provide direct benefit transfers to employers in relation to their EPFO contribution. So all in all, it will help in giving a boost to formal employment sector, employment generation, and that too more so in the labor intensive manufacturing.
Right. And now, of course, this is again something that we were expecting, given the nature of the government that has formed compared to
Absolutely.
what was there during the interim budget. But a lot of announcements for Bihar and Andhra Pradesh.
Yeah, a lot of announcements for Bihar and Andhra Pradesh. For Bihar, 26,000 crore for development of
Mhm.
Bihar infrastructure, the highways, airports, and so on. 15,000 crore for Andhra
Andhra.
Reorganization Act. And we need to see how it will be formalized, because if we listen to the speech, a lot of this is also to be linked to assistance provided by multilateral institutions.
Right.
So in some cases, government will act as a facilitator to provide states with this financial assistance via the multilateral bodies. So we'll have to see what will be the precise burden of these special assistance or financial packages for Bihar and Andhra Pradesh on the budget. That will have to be seen. But certainly there's a lot of thrust on infrastructure development in Bihar, and also for the poorer regions of Andhra Pradesh, a lot of assistance and a lot of emphasis has been placed. But in addition to that, focus is also given to a lot of other states which were affected by
Floods.
Climate change. Yes,
Right.
we saw there is a financial assistance for Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Sikkim. So we do see that, and a lot of emphasis is also on the eastern states. So they have this
Right.
Purvodaya scheme. So I think all in all, a lot of emphasis has been made towards promoting inclusive development. But yes, Bihar and Andhra Pradesh we were expecting, and it has been done. So yes.
Now, the final touch point I wanted to talk about were agriculture and MSMEs. These
Correct.
are two other areas that saw quite a lot of attention in the budget.
Yeah, so agriculture, again, as we also spoke about, that there has to be focus on climate resilient seeds, and that is something that has been given emphasis in this budget. 109 varieties of climate seeds would be distributed, and there's a lot of emphasis on implementation of digital public infrastructure in agriculture towards incorporating incorporating farmers and lands in their registry. So all these are laudable steps because that
Right.
will help in reducing leakages and will help in providing support where it is needed. And it will help in consolidation of land. So on agri, a lot of steps have been taken, and similarly for
MSMEs.
MSMEs, we saw during COVID time also there was a credit guarantee scheme, and similarly again we have the this credit guarantee scheme for MSMEs, and in addition the Mudra scheme has been rationalized. We
Yes.
see that Mudra has three parts: Shishu, Kishore, and Tarun. The Tarun part has been raised from 10 lakh to rupees 20 lakh. So a host of measures towards providing financial assistance to MSMEs, and also banks are also in. Particularly public sector banks, as what finance minister said, they are also being encouraged to develop their policies to promote incentives and financial assistance to MSMEs. So agriculture MSMEs got a boost, and that is needed. That was expected, and particularly if you'll see, these are those MSMEs which are in the labor intensive manufacturing sector. So again, if there is some assistance to these MSMEs, that will help in addressing the problem of
Job
employment,
creation.
job creation. A lot of emphasis is also on the trades, the onboarding of participants on the trades platform. So that is again a step that will help MSMEs in getting timely payments.
So now, overall, last week when we were talking, we said that the government needs to balance fiscal
Correct.
consolidation and demand and job generation.
Right.
But we said that it should lean a little more towards demand and job generation. Do you feel that this is what is turned out?
Yeah, I think they have leaned toward job generation, particularly because there have been a lot of emphasis on job creation and on skilling. A lot of steps have been taken, not only in the short term but also in the medium term. That was needed because employment is a problem. It was discussed in the economic survey document that was released yesterday, and at the same time, the government has not lost sight of fiscal consolidation. They have reduced the fiscal deficit target further to 4.9% of GDP. So that is again something that will be cheered by foreign investors who want to invest in government bonds. So they have tried to do a balancing act, and at the same time they have provided for addressing the demands of coalition partners, and also provided some minor tax cuts to at least boost sentiments. At least there, I mean, there always is complained about the scale and magnitude of tax cuts,
Right.
but again something has been done towards boosting towards reducing the income tax rates, and the withdrawal of angel tax is again something that will have far reaching implications in promoting the startup ecosystem.
So there you go. Those are the broad highlights from budget 2024. Now, this of course doesn't go very much into details. For the details, you should wait for our Macro Sutra episode a little later this week, where Radhika will be delving into some aspects of the budget and what the implications are. But on that note, for now, that's all from us. Thank you so much for watching.